The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. Longman Simplified English Series. Read by Utchara Boontert. Chapter 18. How could you be so nervous? There was something about Aunt Polly's manner when he kissed Tom that swept away his feeling of depression. He set off for school and had the luck to meet Becky Thatcher. When he was happy, he could never be angry with anyone, and so he said, "Becky, I behaved very badly today, and I'm sorry. Let us be friends." The girl stopped and looked him scornfully in the face. "Please don't speak to me, Mr. Thomas Sawyer." She held up her hand proudly and pressed on. Tom was stunned. He presently saw her in the schoolyard and made a stirring remark. She fired one in return and could hardly wait for school to begin. So important was she to see Tom punished for the Dargent spelling book. Poor girl, she did not know that she would soon be in trouble herself. The teacher, Mr. Bobbins, had reached middle age with an unsatisfied ambition. The goal of his desire was to be a doctor, but fate had arranged that he should be nothing higher than a village schoolmaster. Every day he took a master's book out of his desk and studied it. At times, every public in the school was longing to have a look at it. But the change ever came. Now, as Becky was passing by the desk, which stood near the door, she noted that the key was in the lock. It was a precious moment. She glanced round, found herself alone, and the next instant she had the book in her hands. She noted that it was Professor Somebody's Health and Disease, and began to turn the page. At that moment, a shadow fell on the page, and Tom Sawyer stepped in at the door. Becky snatched at the book to close it, and had the misfortune to tear a page. She stuck the book into the desk, turned the key, and burst out crying with shame and annoyance. "Tom Sawyer, how could you be so hurried, tripping up to see what one's looking at? How could I know that you were looking at anything? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I know that you are going to tell the teacher about me, and oh, what shall I do? I'll be punished, and I have never been punished in school." And she rushed out of the classroom in a storm of tears. In a few moments, the teacher arrived, and lessons began. Soon the spelling book discovery was made. Becky thought for a moment of telling about Alfred Temple, but she forced herself to keep quiet, because she said to herself, "He'd tell about me tearing the book. I wouldn't say a word, not even to save his life." Tom took his punishment and went back to his state, not at all broken-hearted, for he thought that he might have upset the ink on the spelling book himself. A whole hour passed by. Then Mr. Dobbins unlocked his desk and reached for his book, but seemed undecided whether to take it out or leave it. Most of the public glanced up idly. but there were two who watched in the movement closely. Mr. Bobbins fingered his book thoughtfully for a time, then took it out and seated himself in his chair to read. Tom glanced at Becky. The anxious expression on her face made him forget his quarrel with her. Quick, something must be done. He could run and snatch the book, spilling toward the door and fly. But she hesitated. His chain was lost. The teacher had opened the book. The next moment he went to the school. His stern gaze met even the innocent temper. There was a silence where one might count 10. Then he spoke. Who threw his book? There was not a sound. One could have heard a pin drop. The teacher searched face after face for signs of guilt. Benjamin Rogers, did you tear this book? I did nail another punch. Joe Harper, did you? Another did not. Tom's uneasiness grew as the teacher examined the rows of boys, considered of a moment, and then turned to the girls. Amy Lawrence, a shave of the head. Gussie Meyer, the same thing. Susan Harvard, did you do this? Another negative. The next girl was Becky Treasure. Tom was trembling from head to foot with excitement and a sense of the hopelessness of the situation. Rebecca Treasure. Tom glanced at her face. It was bright with terror. Did you cheer? No. Look me in the face. Did you cheer this book? A thought shot like lightning through Tom's brain. He sprang to his feet and shouted, I did it. The pupils stared astounded at Tom's foolishness. When he stepped forward to his punishment and surprised her gratitude, the worship that shone upon him out of Becky's eyes seemed reward enough for 100 whippings. He took without a murmur the most severe punishment that even Mr. Dobbins had ever given. Tom went to bed that night planning revenge against Alfred's old-fresh temper, for Becky had told him all. But ever the longing of revenge had to give way soon to pleasanter thoughts, and she fell asleep at last with Becky's words still in his ear. Tom, how could you be so noble?